The Better Business Analysis Institute
presents the Better Business Analysis podcast with
Benjamin Walsh. Hi everybody and welcome back to the Better Business Analysis podcast with Benjamin Walsh. And this week on our BA Bites series, we are going to talk about why you as a BA may not be getting ahead. I'm going to give you 5 reasons why some BAs just don't get ahead in the profession, or at least fast enough. Right, so my background is running BA teams. I was a BA. It actually took me a long period of time to get from, I'd say, the entry level to senior. So I wasn't a rapid riser, not necessarily because I experienced some of these blockers. I just didn't have a common methods, coaching. I was changing jobs. I was changing countries. So I will, however, in the top 5, I'll talk about one area that probably did slow me down a little bit. So you can learn from my experience and the experience of others, and I'm going to give you top 5 reasons why BAs might struggle to progress in their roles. So number 1, it's lack of clear requirements. Okay, a BA is working on a new software project, receives vague requirements from stakeholders without clear, detailed requirements. And you as a BA struggle to create accurate, smart requirements or specifications, and that leads to project delays and rework. And that gets picked up, okay? So people notice when it takes a long time for the requirements phase to be completed. It is actually a difficult problem to deal with that a lot of professions don't have to deal with, and we do as BAs. And so there are different techniques for managing that, but ultimately, as we talk down the list, it's around having a structured approach, and it's not around doing all the work, okay? And I'll come back to that. There's probably a whole podcast on itself. So a solution here might be implemented a structured requirements gathering approach, okay? So you might start off with just a series of steps. Now, obviously, at the Better Business Analysis Institute, we have our steps. We have steps that are proven. You can use those even on our website for free. You can download the PDF of the delivery model and just kind of vaguely copy it. Or you can do our training, of course. But the idea is just to have an approach that's proven. So if you are going to make it up on your own, then write one down, and then you're going to have to just iterate on that, okay? If you don't want to just invest in knowing what the best technique is. So that's things like, I'm going to do workshop interviews, I'm going to do use cases for analysis, and then I'm going to drop down, I'm going to use user stories, child user stories. You need to have a method, okay? It cannot be chaotic, and I've seen a couple of examples where that has been chaotic, and it works in one situation, it won't work in another situation. Number 2 is insufficient stakeholder engagement. This happens a lot too. A BA fails to involve key stakeholders throughout the life cycle. They are downward facing is probably the number 1. As a result, critical feedback is missed and the final deliverable doesn't meet stakeholder expectations. And there are techniques like Agile for doing that and check-ins. But I would say that I'm going to add to this that the number 1 mistake here is managing down and coming up with requirements in the delivery team, which is I'm just going to say it's absolutely ridiculous. Okay, delivery team is not where your requirements come from. So the solution is regularly engaging with stakeholders. That's okay, through meetings, updates, feedback, making sure you're meeting their concerns. Even if those concerns are out of scope, you need to meet them. Okay, that's where good BAs, senior BAs do really well, is managing up. So if you're not managing up, you are not going to progress in the career. You might be stuck at an intermediate level. Even with the senior role title, you're not really a senior until you can manage up effectively. Number 3 is inadequate communication skills. And this is hard. And this can be with language. This can be with background. This could be with being an introvert, being an extrovert. So you do need to include this in your toolkit, and you need to practice this area. This is an area I have invested lots and lots and lots of time on getting better at, and I'll explain why in 2 seconds. An example here is a BA presents a complex technical solution to a non-technical audience without simplifying the language. This leads to misunderstanding, a lack of buy-in, and people just going, I trust you. You do not want to build a product based on trust. Okay. The trust in product development is trying to build rapport and testing with your customer. It isn't about building trust within the project team or with your stakeholders. That comes naturally, but this is where the scientific method comes into play. You can't just wing your way through. So the solution here is to develop strong communication skills, and it's such a buzzword, communication. So I'm going to break it down, including the ability to tailor messages to different audiences. Okay, you need to use visual aids to engage understanding and enhance it. Okay, so this is around using process diagrams, context diagrams. I'm consistently meeting BAs where I'm like, draw a picture, draw a picture, draw a picture. And they're like really good at the detail, writing massive long specs. I'm like, draw a picture. If you can't draw a picture of it and it's not all there, then you're probably not going to get ahead. Again, this relies on managing up communication skills. As you get higher up the tree of an organization, unfortunately, you have to simplify your information, okay, into red, amber, green. The simple model, the Barney model, whatever you want to call it, the Wiggles model. You have to get to a simple communication, very concise, okay, clear and concise. Number 4 is when you, as a BA, are resistant to change. So if a BA is tasked with implementing a new process improvement, but they face resistance from team members who are accustomed to their own ways of working, the BA can struggle to gain support and just the initiative stalls. Now, that's both in the team you're dealing with, so you haven't got the rapport, which is so important, persuasion within the team. Persuasion is is the magic trick behind good business analysis. You have to be a good persuader using facts. And the resistance can be both for the team, they're just pushing back. So you have to use those techniques, gain their trust in another way, and allow them to in the communication, not in the product. And you need to persuade them with facts and figures and diagrams. Now, the resistance also can be with the BA. The BA could be resistant to trying new techniques. You cannot afford to do that. BAs need to evolve, and with AI, we need to evolve even faster. And number 5, it's just the lack of domain knowledge. I've hit this. And the example is a BA is working in the healthcare industry without sufficient knowledge of medical terminology, regulations. You struggle to understand the specific needs of the project, leading to errors and inefficiencies. Now, that's the worst case in errors or inefficiencies. But if you were trying to meet with stakeholders, and I had this example where I was talking about a certain quantity of fuel. I didn't know how much, the regular business user used once a month when I started at a petroleum company. And the workshop was so well planned because I was worried about it. And I literally made a comment around just to try and get the workshop moving around, I guess they might use X amount of liters per month. And it was way off. And everyone in the workshop laughed. Okay. At that point, all the hard work and all the planning, all the scientific method went out the window because I literally didn't know the quantity that someone might buy a month. And I should have kept my mouth shut or admitted or asked instead of just waffling through, and that belittled my rest of my work. So the solution is investing time in learning the domain-specific language, so terminologies that they use, legislation. Just do a bit of a background. If you're starting a new job in a new domain, do that before you start the job. Okay, ask through training. You can do certifications in a certain area, and you can collaborate with SMEs, or you just ask, but don't try and pretend you know. Okay, so that was a mistake I made early on, and now I just will ask and say, look, I don't know. Can I ask the group? So there are 5 reasons why BAs don't progress. Number 1 is the fact that BAs just lack the ability to create clear requirements. You can learn that. That's structured scientific. 2, insufficient stakeholder engagement. Manage up, learn to work with managers, learn to work with stakeholders, learn to work with Raskies, understand all that. 3, inadequate communication skills. You have to be great at this, and depending on where you start in life, if you're dyslexic like I am, or you're an introvert, or you're, I don't know, on the spectrum, then this is going to be an area where you need to invest some time in, and it's just around putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, and communicating and just getting better at talking in front of an audience. 4 is resistance to change. That read Persuasion. There's a couple of books around it. You need to also adapt a continuous learning and improvement mindset for yourself. And number 5 is lack of domain knowledge. You need to understand the area that you work, and you need to learn that pretty damn quickly. And if you don't know, then you need to ask, and you need to have a smear around you who can help you along the way. So they're the top 5 reasons. I've seen them. I've seen people not progress because they lack, progress in these areas. And you need to do that. Go get some training, sing out, admit that you need some training in this area. You can only get better at these areas. And so that's your activity for this week. And I'll see you next week.